Everybody, welcome to the Jim Masters Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Celebrity Talk Show series. It's so great to have you with us and all those folks that are watching live and commenting in what we call the JMS Celebrity Hall chat room. Good to see everybody, all our regulars and some new faces as well. Great to have you with us. And we have a fantastic musical expert extraordinaire, somebody who's really good at what he does and loves what he does. And we're so happy to have him here, Darryl Evan Jones. He is a magician on the flute and so much more in so many different ways. He is delivering to us some absolutely incredible music. Jazz flautist, yes, but he is also considered the ambassador of instrumental soul, and fan and friends alike, they call him the Fluteman. You may have seen that in some of our promos announcing this episode. He truly is the Fluteman. And he's got new music that he's sharing with us as well that we're really, really excited about it. He performs live. He loves his fans. He loves his audience. He's somebody that gives 110% in everything that he does. He goes on tour. He releases great music. As I mentioned, he's got new music out as well. The name of the new music is Resilient. Some great songs on there, Grind, and much, much more. It's a terrific mixture. There's classical nuances and contemporary jazz and gospel in his thread of being the ambassador of instrumental soul. Now, you guys know I'm an absolute aficionado, fan, supporter, lover of instrumental music. Have been for years. We have collections galore of all kinds of instrumental music, from jazz and smooth jazz to pop instrumental, classical instrumental, every kind of instrumental you can think of, Christmas instrumental. We have it all. And to have somebody on who is a real noted individual who's creating this music for all of us, music that really makes you feel good, music that goes deep, music that's rhythmic, but also music that really does touch the soul. You've got the guy here on the Jim Masters Show right now. I want to tell you a little bit about him. We are fellow comrades in the fact that we are both from the state of New York in the United States. Me originally being from out east on Long Island, or as the island as we call it. And Darryl Evan Jones is from New York City and from the Bronx originally. And yeah, it's really incredible. And he's still making the music. He brings the flute, classic vibe, rich melodic and harmonic possibilities in a new generation and to a new sound. The musical style of Darryl Evan Jones is truly original, combining the genres of jazz, classical, and gospel. He calls his style instrumental soul. He insists that he's a soul singer who can't sing, but expresses emotions through the beautiful sound of the flute. Born and raised in the South Bronx, music was originally introduced as an alternative to the lure of the streets and other ills, of course, of the projects. And soon it became evident this music was more than a distraction. It was a calling, and Darryl began to develop a unique musical voice that was simply undeniable. His journey brought him to performance stages like the Cannon Center in Memphis, Philadelphia's Mandel Theater, the Capitol Jazz Fest. He's been an opening act for artists like Howard Hewitt, Jeff Lorber, and Kim and Boney James, and he shared the stage with Marion Meadows. And he's also the winner of the solo instrumental category of the International 2024 Made in New York Jazz Competition, representing the United States. We're so excited to have him here. That's just a short list, folks. I could go on and on and on about our incredible guest, but let's bring him live. He has lots to share, lots to talk about, and we're so excited. He's got new music coming our way as well. Here he is in the captain's chair, Darryl Evan Jones, the ambassador of instrumental soul.
That was such an amazing intro. I started looking around to try to figure out who you were speaking of, but thanks so much for having me here. Thank you very much.
The pleasure is all mine. You know, you got a great, you've heard this before. You got a terrific radio voice too.
Thank you. Have
you ever done any on-air work?
I not on air. I just started doing some
voiceovers,
side stuff, voiceovers. I decided, you know what, maybe I should. Everybody can't be wrong. So right. I'm delving into that now as a little bit on a side hustle. But yeah, thank you.
In a world. Well, great to have you with us. Congratulations on the new music. You've been doing this for a long time, and this has been in your heart and soul. ever since you were a kid. Tell us about that. Growing up in the Big Apple, what were some of the sounds you were hearing, some of those influences, and how did music come into your heart and soul to the point where you made it a calling and you made it part of who you are, Darryl?
Wow, that's a lot. So, growing up in the South Bronx, in the projects, my parents wanted to make sure we were distracted by as much positivity as possible. And, music was always in the house, but what my parents projected was, there was always church music. My mother was a big Kenny Rogers fan. Till this day, I still love Kenny Rogers music. My father was big on Chet Atkins. But there was everything from, my brothers and I, we would sneak and we would play like Funkadelic and Cameo and James Brown, of course, Earth, Wind and Fire, Stevie Wonder. But I was also a big fan of big band music. We had, oh my goodness, Benny Goodman, Frank Sinatra, Shaka Khan is my all-time favorite female singer. Just there was so much music. I didn't really think of music as a calling until I think I was about 30, close to 30. And then I realized that this is what God has for me to do. So I set out on a quest to see what I could do with it.
And what were those first steps you took? You can have a dream, you can have a vision, you can have that juice inside, but
Yeah.
then you got to get out there and perform, and you've got to connect, and you've got to network, and you've got to be seen, heard, and appreciated. How did you take those steps to do that?
I made every mistake you could possibly make, to be honest. And when I first started playing out, I actually started playing out before I even thought about recording, to be honest. I spent a summer in Providence, Rhode Island, with a family friend. He was like an uncle, and he was a man about town. Everybody knew him. His name was Sam Harold. Everybody called him Big Sam. And I was my upbringing was very, very strict, especially in the church. So I remember one Sunday when we got back to his place after church, he wanted to do his normal routine, which was to go around to the various clubs and play. But he wasn't sure how I would respond to it. So he just said, "Hey, do you want to go somewhere and play?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So I grabbed my flute and he grabbed the sticks and we went. And the first place I ever played out was a spot called Snubs in, I believe it was East Providence. I think it was, but I know it was in Providence. And I just kind of caught the bug from there. I love the ability to sit in with different groups and play different styles of music and vibe with the crowd and all that. And from that moment on, I'm like, you know what? I think maybe this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I pursued that, and then started really studying the business side of music and learning that from everything to do with being an artist to learning production. And I love people, so being a people person really helps. That's how you're going to connect otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I made likely every mistake you could make, but mistakes aren't necessarily, well, they're not catastrophic per se, unless you just leave them there as a mistake. Now, if you learn from them,
Right,
then
teachable moments.
Exactly, there's value in that. So. Thank God I was able to learn from, and I'm still learning. I'm 58 years old, and I'm still learning a lot about music itself, the business, people, it all. A lot of it. There's always something to learn.
It's really good that you understand. Talent is not necessarily, aware of the business side, and that can come to bite them later on. So to be aware of, because it is show business. So
Yes.
For you to learn that early and take that on is a very smart thing.
Yeah. Talent alone And a lot of people make this mistake. They think that, and this is going to sound odd, I know, but they think that like the music business is about talent. It's talent is an element of the music business, but the music business really is not as a whole about talent. The music business is business, and the only thing anybody really cares about in the business is the bottom line. You know, how many records can you sell? How many people can I sell seats for? That's the business. And when you let your ego run ahead of your sensibilities, you'll get in trouble.
What was it about instrumental music that gravitated to you? And did you take stabs first at vocal, or was instrumental always the thing for you? What is it about? What do you get from instrumental? I think I know the answer because I'm going to plug into it myself. But for the edification of our viewers, what is it about instrumental for you, Darryl?
All right. Despite what many people have said to me, people have said, "Yeah, I'm so sure I hear your voice. You can sing." No, I can't sing. No one in my family is a singer except my mom. My father, my three brothers, none of us could sing. Instrumental music for me, it's freedom for one. I've said this so many times to so many people, but everybody loves vocal music. I don't think there's a person on the planet who doesn't. But to me, and not knocking it, vocal music, let me do it in reverse. Instrumental music is the novel. It's, the author writes the novel and leaves it up to you to create that imagery in your own mind, whatever it looks like. And there's no wrong answer, right? So you can have 10, 20, however many people read the same novel, and no two will see the same image in their brain. Vocal music, by contrast, is the movie adaptation of that novel, where the director decides for you what that imagery looks like. And because of the freedom of instrumental music, you have the ability to create and communicate emotion in a way that just can't be done otherwise. And that's the magic of instrumental music to me.
Yeah, I agree. There's something very special about it. And as I mentioned, I'm a big collector of it and a big supporter of it, and aficionado of all styles of instrumental music. There's something about, like you said, it's very freeing too, because, love vocal music, love the artists, all
Right.
different kinds of genres of music. But there's something about, I could take an instrumental song and I can listen to it multiple times in a row and I'll hear different nuances. Oh, I missed the triangle that time, or I missed how the guitar slowly came in, or how the flute finished it off with a big finish. There's also something about the fact that it seems, this might be a stretch for some, but for me, this is how I see it. It's almost coming out of the clouds. It's almost godlike. It's almost, because you're not necessarily focusing on one particular vocalist.
Right.
I like the choral groups too. I like I love harmony. But when you're hearing the instruments and the music, you're focusing on the melody, the arrangement, the composition,
Right.
how everything is playing off each other. And there's just something encompassing, enveloping, and sweeping about instrumental music that almost sounds like it is coming out of clouds from above, and it's wrapping you up. And you're not focused on the singer and who they're dating and what car they drive and what their net worth is.
Right.
You're
Right.
hearing the actual music. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense, and it's interesting that you understand that, because one of the things I like to do, and everybody has their own way of doing it, and no way is wrong, but when I write a song, I like to make sure, when I write and record especially, I like to make sure that what's going on for the listener is a conversation. And there are many parts to that conversation, and there could be the main conversation, and then there could be a sub conversation. But you'll oftentimes hear where there'll be a conversation between my flute and maybe the bass or the keys or whom, but it's always a conversation, because to me, again, we're trying to communicate, we're trying to convey thought, trying to convey emotion, and music is so important to me that of all the beautiful things that God created, one of the few things that just demonstrates how important it is to him, and it's all important to him, I know, is music, because there's music in heaven, for crying out loud. So to have been blessed to be given the gift of music, this talent, I refer to it as a seed, because God provides the talent in the form of a seed, if you will, and then it's up to the individual to nurture that seed, but understand the purpose of it. So the purpose of it was never, I get it. You're talking to me, people listening to me, they're looking at me and all that. But the purpose was never actually about me. The purpose was to take this thing and share it with others, to make a difference with others in an effort, whether they realize it or not, to actually glorify God. That's the purpose of my music.
And you do it so beautifully. I encourage folks to get as much of it into your life as you can. I say that music, and I mentioned this to you when we were chatting before we went live, and I've said it a couple of times in this show, but I've said it for years before this show. I don't smoke, but for me, music is my cigarette. Right. Music is the thing that in the ocean, growing up on the island, we had the ocean around us. So there's something about when I'm near the ocean and near the water, it just speaks to me. I'm in it. I'm swimming it, surfing it, boogie boarding, whatever I can do, walking it, just being near it. There's a certain energy that it's larger than me. It's larger than who I am. It's larger than all of us.
Exactly.
And when I listen to instrumental music, I surrender myself to it. I allow those sounds that are penetrating, that are getting in to my mind, body, and spirit, and take me wherever I'm supposed to go, and heal and comfort and bring joy and laughter and happiness and memories, romance, whatever it is. Sweep me up and take me with you, all these different sounds of these instruments. And I will always, I'm the person that goes into the store and if it's instrumental, while I'm shopping and getting a sweater, I'm listening to the piped in sounds. I'm at the restaurant eating, enjoying, talking, but I'm the one zoned in on what I'm hearing coming in. I think, I'm going to take a guess here, but for me, because you're a man that obviously gets to the core, you get to the soul, you get to the heart. I've often said that for me, and I absolutely love the flute, I love all the instruments, but I think the one instrument that gets me, stops traffic for me, is the cello.
Oh, I thought, man.
And the reason why, for me, the cello, whenever I hear the cello, whether it's several of them in an orchestra or it's one single cello, it literally, I could be walking, and when I hear a cello, freeze frame, it's going right in here. And I've often said, I interviewed in another venue on television, I interviewed a Juilliard grad cellist. And I said, I'm going to throw this out there for you. And it may sound nutty, it may sound crazy, but I'm just going to throw it out there as a real lover of the cello. And when I was a kid, I started violin first. But the cello, I said, if the human heart made a sound that mimicked an instrument, for me, it is that depth, the warmth, the melancholy sound, that all-encompassing, this is what it's all about, Alfie sound of the cello that gets in there for me and just says, look, whatever's going on in the world, here it is, right here. The heart would be making the sound of a cello if it made an instrumental
The audience is not going to believe this. They're not going to believe this. And I promise you, I'm not just saying this because
as he is the flute man.
So two things. One, I noticed Miss Maureen wrote, and she stole my thought. She said life would suck without music. Yes, it would. Can you imagine? Please don't. But what your audience could not have known, and we did not talk about this previous to the show. Though I play the flute, the cello is my favorite instrument. No, I can't play it. But there's something about that deep, rich resonance of a cello that it hits your soul. And when it's done right, oh my goodness, it does make me stop. I just love the sound of it. I wish I could have afforded to have a few cellists actually play on the album, but instead, we had to do it economically, so it was synthesized. But one of my producers knows how I feel about deep strings, the cello, so he mimicked that on purpose, and I can just block myself out on the recording and listen for the strings.
Yeah, the strings really tug at your heart, don't they? You
Yes.
love having the
Yes.
strings. There's something about the strings and the swirl and just the epicness of them and the gentleness of them when they're played gently. It's amazing. The cello, yeah. So you're a guy that, again, gets to the core of the matter, and the cello really does, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
But then I would say next, there are nuances and sounds of the flute that also have that warmth and that joyfulness, and that it's a very meaningful sounding instrument. There's a lot of meaning. There's a lot of happiness and joy and rhythm, but there's also a lot. Whenever I hear a flute added to something that's orchestral or whatever, it finishes it off beautifully for me, because it comes in almost like a dove, and it just comes in there, swoops in, and completes things in a certain way for me.
It's one of the more, I'll venture to say, one of the most versatile instruments, especially in the orchestra. Obviously, most people, especially in America, are probably more familiar with the saxophone, especially the alto sax. And that's nothing against it, but we've been inadvertently, on our end, brainwashed by it, because anytime you're watching a television show or a movie, and before they even show you the imagery, if they want to convey this is going to be sexy,
sax,
right? Now, the problem is the saxophone, as great as it sounds, just doesn't have the versatility the flute does, because the flute can be a kiss, and done correctly, it can be a slap too. So you just have to know how to use it. And I believe I was able to learn that from my ability to be exposed to so many different kinds of music. I mean, classical music. I mean, I played classical music, playing in the church, and then listening to virtually everything out there. And if you remember, especially in the 70s and somewhat into the early 80s, flute was relatively prevalent in a lot of R&B, especially funk music.
I absolutely love the 70s sound. I wish that's what I heard now. You hear sometimes people lifting elements of it and putting it in TV commercials today, and I'll be in a room with people that'll say, "Oh, wow, that's really cool. Wow, I love the way." And I'm like, "That's not necessarily production music. That was a song that was a hit in 1974,
right,
by the Sound of Philadelphia or what have you." It's interesting. They really brought in all the instruments during that time, and the soul and the funk sound is just.
Because remember, this is all pre-computerization,
right?
All pre-digital. So
real instruments, real musicians,
and you had to know what you were doing. Technology is great. It is, but there is no substitute for actual practice and learning and being a student of the art. There's just no substitute for that.
Do you like, well, like you say, digital is part of our vernacular now, but do you also love analog? Are you an analog guy still, the warmth of analog?
You can't beat the warmth of analog, and there have been many advances in digital, and some have done a relatively good job of mimicking analog to a degree. But what's going to replace the sound, the warmth of a tube amplifier, for example? You're just not going to. And they've come close. They really have. Unfortunately, even Yamaha has was the Motif. The Motif was the first digital keyboard, to my knowledge, that was ever able to almost 100% accurately mimic a flute.
Mm.
Virtually everything I can do on the flute, that Yamaha Motif can mimic. Now, to my knowledge, I don't think it can double tongue. And if it can't double tongue, I know it can't triple tongue. Someone told me that if you mess with the pitch bender, it can flutter tongue, either flutter tongue or growl. But there are a few things that a flutist can do that thing still can't do. But it's a quantum leap ahead of what most synthesized flutes sound like. But still, it's not real.
There's a lot of people that are on different sides of the fence, basically about everything on the planet these days. But when it comes to music, there's the old school. Music used to sound so much better, so much time and emphasis was put onto it. You can listen to it. It wasn't so rushed or digital or auto-tune or tinny or flat or loud.
Yeah.
And then you have folks who are like, today's music is it. Today's music is where it's happening. And then you have folks sort of in the middle that will listen to and sample all of it.
Yeah.
How about you? The music of then, the music of now, how do you feel about it all?
I'm going to sound like an old fogey to some degree. For me, mostly, music is just music. It's almost a shame that we have to put things in nice little boxes, genres, and the like. But let's be honest. When you were hearing, whether it was Count Basie, Frank Sinatra, I'm going to jump, Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder, Earth, Wind, and Fire. When you would hear Led Zeppelin, The Doors, these people were like masters of their crafts. And I get it that like any other art form, it'll morph over time. But too much music I hear today, too much popular music, I'll say. It's called music, but to me, it's not. It's sound. And there's a difference. It does take sound to make music, but not all sound is music. You go walking by a city bus, that diesel engine makes sound, but that's not music. And I think there's too much emphasis today on the visual, and because of it, the music suffers. Imagine if the emphasis today on the visual presentation was put on Ella Fitzgerald. Ella wouldn't make it today. Frank would be all right, but Ella would not make it today because she doesn't do that stage crazy stuff. And
all the dancers and the pyrotechnics.
I mean,
the music gets buried sometimes.
It gets buried, it gets lost. And I didn't get this way when I turned 50. I've been for the longest time where I really don't care. Your stage production, that's fine. But when I go to a concert, I want, before I can enjoy, I want one question answered. Can you really sing?
Right.
That's what I want answered. Because if I'm barreling down the highway at 70 miles an hour, I can't see you dancing. I really don't care. At 70 or at 40, the music's going to sound the same. So, for example, there were two concerts I remember attending that for the first 15 minutes or so, I felt completely robbed because I was sure they were playing a track. One was, I think it was around 1985, 86, Madison Square Garden, I think it was.
Not
It
Milli
was,
Vanilli.
no, God, no. It was Neil Diamond,
Ah,
his Headed for the Future tour. And I had the cassette, yes, cassette. So when I forgot which song they opened with, and they're doing this song, and I'm sitting there, and I can feel I have an attitude because there's no way this is live. And then he did something different than how he did it on the album, and I'm like, oh my God, this is live. The second concert, this is many years later, was a group called Snarky Puppy. In my humble opinion, the baddest band that most of America doesn't know about. All instrumental. And I saw them in concert, and a friend of mine was down to my left, I guess. And it was standing only. Nobody sat in this venue. And apparently the entire night, my jaw was just dropped. It was just amazing. That stuff, people just don't know, they don't appreciate, what have you. Oh, I'm sorry. Marilyn just asked, do you play any other instruments? Marilyn thinks I'm really talented. No, I do not. I own an electronic keyboard, which I know just enough about to be dangerous. And I own a really pretty alto saxophone, which that's not my thing. My natural voice.
but he does have terrific 20/20 vision to be able to see the comments from that far from the screen.
No. I actually don't. I've got
You
a
have the
giant
font,
screen
you have
up
the
here.
font big.
So I have my laptop here, and it's repeating on a 30-something
and a
inch
30-inch
monitor here.
screen thing.
Yeah. So the funny thing about not being able to play another instrument is, now I mentioned the digital keyboard. I actually taught, this is really odd. I actually taught myself how to play one song on piano, and it's not Mary Had a Little Lamb. It's actually Always Be My Baby by Mariah Carey. Don't ask me how I did that, but yeah, I can actually sit
By
down.
ear?
Oh yeah,
All by ear.
yeah.
Well, how'd you learn the flute? How did that come you? How did you learn the flute? How did that develop for you?
I got my first flute, excuse me, when I was 8. I think my father probably gave me a recorder first just to test the waters. My mother sang in the church choir. My father and 2 older brothers, they're 4 boys. My youngest brother, he's also a musician, but at the time, he's 2.5 years younger than me. But they were the church band, and so we got my father on guitar, my oldest brother on guitar, and the one between us on drums. So they're a rhythm section. So I guess my father figured, okay, we're missing a lead voice here, and he tells me I said I wanted to play flute. Okay, I have to take him at his word because I was 8, so that was 50 years ago. And when he bought it, December 24th, 1974. I took to it almost immediately. Now, my parents didn't let it sit there. I had to go into private lessons and learn to read and begin to learn basic theory and things like that. And for believe it or not, most of my life, I really did not know how to practice technique. Now, I had some books and stuff that you could do, but all those were, and there's nothing wrong with it, but all those were dependent on me reading what I was going to practice. I didn't know how to practice technique just from my ear. I didn't learn that until I was almost 30. And what happened was the minister of music at our church, Anthony Lamb, he actually has at least, I think he has a master's in music. I think it's a master's. And he started.
It's always good to be a master's.
Yes, he started importing these nuggets to us of musical wisdom. Basically, he was teaching us what he learned in college. He was teaching it to us for free. So I figured, listen, this guy's got a degree. You don't. You probably want to follow what he's saying. And whatever he taught, I was a sponge. And I began to just, one of his big things was anything you play, you should be able to play in all 12 keys. Mm-hmm. So if I heard a riff on the radio or on a recording or whatever, I would learn it in that key and then chromatically learn it in all 12 and then practice it again in fourths. So I still do that. I still do that to this day.
What is part of your regimen? How do you get ready? Like if you're going to go on stage or you're going to go into the studio, how do you prepare? Are there some physical things that you do? Do you get good night's sleep, of course, but drink a lot of water? What is some of the routine for you?
I'm going to be the oddest musician you've ever spoken to. I don't do any of the normal things I'm probably supposed to do. For me, for example, I really don't like being in a recording studio. I like recording everything here because without a live band, I don't like being the center of attention. I don't like it. I would like before a performance, and I've done this occasionally, I'd like to have a shot of whiskey, take the edge off. But if I can't brush my teeth, now I can't have whiskey because I can't have the sugar from the alcohol rotting my pads.
That's the Irish in you.
That's the Irish in me.
It heals all wounds, right?
It really does. I am not an alcoholic, folks. But strangely enough, no matter how much water I drink, and I may have a glass of ice water on stage, I always play with sugarless gum in my mouth. Yeah. Because if I don't, I'm so nervous, I'll get cotton mouth. And
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I tried one time. I actually tried to play this show and I barely got through the first song. And I had to ask the audience, does anybody have a stick of sugarless gum? And that's how I could finish the show.
Sugarless gum. That's it.
Yeah.
This segment sponsored by Trident.
I'll take the endorsement.
That's right. They should send you a year's supply for sure.
Yes.
What inspires you to make the incredible music that you make? You seem to be somebody who is, the radar is always up. You're always absorbing and feeling and watching and learning from what's going on around you, whether you are, on a bus, in a plane, in a museum, out at nature, in a supermarket, wherever it is, crowded room or a room of two. Mm-hmm. You're soaking it all in and up and influenced by life itself. Does that inspire you? Or what are some other things that inspire you to make such great music?
First of all, thank you for calling the music great. I don't take that for granted. I'm really humbled by it. Life is one of the strangest things that there is, because life is so wonderful. And at the same time, life is often so terrible. But I like to focus on the positivity of life, the hope of life, the promise of life, the opportunity. And when I make a song, it's never the same way twice. Almost always, however, if I have a song idea, and it could just be a very, very small part of the song. It could be part of a melody. It could be a rhythm. It could be a chord progression, a bass line. And what I will do is, so that I don't lose that song, I could wake up 2:00 in the morning and have a song idea. What I'll do is I'll grab my iPhone, hit the phone, the voice recorder, and as best I can, because remember, I can't sing, I'll hum it or sing it into my iPhone. So now I've got it forever.
You know who does that too?
Who's that?
She was a guest about 2 or 3 times on our show, and I've referred to her several times on this show. Melissa Manchester does that. She said she
Really?
could be, in a sound sleep. She could be napping on the couch. She could be whatever in her house, and something hits her, a
Yes.
source of inspiration. She's got
Yes.
to run to the piano, press the recorder, and start working it out, whatever it is, and let the recorder capture it. Because if she lets it wane
It's
or go
gone.
away, it will weaken, dissipate, and it won't
Yes.
be whatever the mumbo jumbo is that's coming out. She's capturing it, and then she'll work with it.
Right.
Melissa Manchester does that. And some people I know say that they grab their iPhone and start going into their iPhones. That's really the best way to do it as it's happening fresh.
Yeah. Because I remember one time, and this is how I learned my lesson. I had what I thought was a great song idea that I woke up to middle of the night. And I didn't feel like getting out of bed. And I convinced myself foolishly, don't worry about it. You'll remember it when you wake up. No, I didn't. It was like it never happened. And I was so frustrated. And I believe once you have that moment of creativity, if you don't capture it, it's gone forever. It's not coming back. Now, it could be it comes back at some other point. I honestly don't know, because if it did, I wouldn't recognize it as being, yeah, I remember that. It would seem new again. But to me, my experience is you better capture it now. Melissa Manchester has the advantage of she can actually play a piano, so she'll get the purest form of the idea, where mine is a bit of a struggle. For example, there's one song we're trying to finalize now. We're trying to shoot a video for this thing. I don't have any regrets over it, but this song was meant to be a true jazz song. So I had a bass line in mind, which was going to be played on an upright bass. I sang it into my iPhone, uploaded it to the cloud, and then downloaded it into my digital workstation. When I downloaded it, there's something called quantization. For people who don't know what that is, that's basically the computer system takes your music, the audio file, and it puts it to a time code to make sure it's in rhythm. Well, I didn't sing it in rhythm, apparently. So where it was supposed to be this jazz song, when the computer interpreted it, it became Caribbean.
Mm. Wow.
And I just started building on it and building on it and building on it. And I actually convinced myself, oh, I know what I'm going to do with this song. I'm going to finish the song. I'm going to shop it to Rihanna. And then at some point, reality set in and said, dude, you're not getting anywhere near Rihanna. So I got with my producer. We started working on it. And it kept growing in that Caribbean direction. And I'm like, you know what? Let's just roll with it. And now I'm in love with the piece. I honestly am. Oh, Darryl, love you. Oh, Miss Maureen, she's so special. Thank you. She says she loves my perspective on life. I appreciate that. I perspective. Okay, we'll leave it at perspective. I believe life, all things being equal, is nothing but a series of choices. This is something my wife and I taught our daughters. We have 3 girls. You may not like.
You have a big phone bill, or?
No, thank God. So we taught them, you may not like all or maybe even any of the choices you're afforded in any given situation, but you always have a choice. All things being equal, as long as no one's actually physically restraining you, you've always got a choice. And what you have to do is determine, what am I going to do with these choices? It may not be what I want. It may only be what I have to do right now.
Right.
And I've been there many times, many times. So life is a beautiful experience if you allow it to be. It will beat you up, yes. Okay, so that's a given. If we can all remember, what was it? Geometry class? What was it? Something's a given and something's a postulate or whatever. It was a lifetime ago, folks.
You're right.
But if you know that going in, okay, Life is hard. Got it. So sitting here crying about it, guess what? It won't get easier. So I might as well get up and confront life and keep it moving. That's just my outlook on it. So
It's the way to be. And the other thing too, and that ties in beautifully to the new music, is also you do have to be, and if you don't start out that way, there are ways that I've actually, in some of my professional work on television, I've interviewed people who are resilience experts, leadership, and those kinds of experts,
yes,
showing people how they can be resilient, because you do need to have resilience, bounce back, a strength, a
yes,
confidence that comes to be able to deal with, to get through, to move forward from the things that life throws your way. Of course, the beautiful stuff, the fun stuff, the happy, joyful stuff comes, and that's fantastic.
right,
Some of those other moments where your resilience is tested,
exactly.
reminds you that having a resilient attitude and way of life is important. What is it about that title for this particular music that was perfect now in your life to release for all of us?
Wow, deep question. So the previous album, I'll start there, was Relentless, and to me, it was a natural progression to then have Resilient as a follow up, because they're two sides of the same coin, right? If you have a goal, a mission you're pursuing, you've got to be relentless if you really want it. I think it was in a book that Napoleon Hill wrote, Think and Grow Rich, where I'm pretty sure it was him, where he demonstrates the difference between wanting something and liking to have it, right?
Exactly.
So,
and there's a line between, there's a line sometimes that gets blurred
yes,
between relentless and ruthless, right?
they're right, because with relentless, I'm going to be dogged in my pursuit, but I won't do anything and everything, and I will not harm anybody in this pursuit. My resilience has to be because while being relentless, you're going to get knocked down, beat up, pitfalls and all that, and you have to get up, dust yourself off, lick your wounds, and keep moving. And at the end of the day, it's all about a mindset. I don't think anybody, if they're honest, no matter what you do, everything in life comes down to a mindset. And I guess at the top of it, in mindset, it's all about faith. And I'm a man of faith, and I'm grateful to God for that. I dedicate my life to Jesus Christ, and with that, it allows me to see beyond the current struggle. It allows me to honestly love everybody, and I really do. I've always been a people person. So with Resilient, I always want my music, and especially with this album, I want it to lift people up. I want it to encourage people, inspire people, let folks know that, yeah, you know what, this day, this moment, this period, this is rough. Yeah, it is. But guess what? There's light at the end of that tunnel. Now, I don't know what your tunnel looks like. I don't know the distance. I don't know any of that. But there's always light, and you've got to keep moving, because is wallowing really a viable option? I don't think so.
Mm-mm. No, it isn't. No, because you just get stuck in that. You don't go, it's like a hamster on a wheel. You don't really go forward.
Right. And what's worse is that hamster, as much as it may run on that wheel, with us, if you don't move forward, you get stuck, and in a lot of ways you actually revert. It's like a disease. It festers, and you're encouraging that festering, whether you intend to or not. So I approach it the same way I approach fear. You know, anything I'm afraid of, I refuse not to confront it, whatever it is, because in my mind, that thing, whatever it is I'm afraid of, I imagine it's this hideous, huge monster. And what feeds that monster, what makes it grow larger and stronger, is my fear. So if I turn tail and run, it gets bigger. So I don't know if I'll ever beat that monster, but what I know I'm not going to do is run from it. I will face it, even if I never completely subdue it, but I'm not running from it.
Well, you're doing a superb job on this episode of the Jim Master Show Live, because having the spotlight on you is not one of your favorite things, is it?
It's not. It's. I think I found that out when I was about, let's say, 10 years old. My father and my brothers and I were in one of the bedrooms just playing music, jam session, whatever. And my back is against a wall here, and there's a door here. And apparently I must have been playing really well until I caught movement out of the side of my corner of my eye. My mother had come down the hallway, and she was holding one of those old cassette tape recorders with a microphone. Once I knew I was being paid attention to, I almost clammed up. The way I was playing just completely changed. I don't like being the center of attention. Which is one of the reasons why I love a band around me. I have stage fright, yes, a performing artist with stage fright, but that's just further proof that what I'm saying is not hyperbole. It's something I live. I'm scared to death of being on stage. So what
There's
do
a
I do?
lot of people. Barbara Streisand,
Oh,
it's never
yeah.
been her favorite thing, right? It's a lot of
Yeah.
people.
We're talking Barbara Streisand, for crying out loud. And yeah, but there are lessons we can take from so many people. In fact, that's one of my favorite lessons from her. Another is, there was an interview. I'm not sure it was Dick Cavett, whoever it was, and they must have made the statement to her about people referring to her as perfectionist. And I remember
Right.
when she corrected
Mike
him.
Wallace, 60 Minutes.
Oh, it was
Yeah.
okay. There you go. And
Yeah.
she's like, no. I'm not a perfectionist, because perfection is not attainable. Excellence is. Exceptionalism is. And I mean, that was decades ago she said that, and it still resonates with me today.
You know, I tell people when they are perfectionistic, striving for perfection, which can be very claustrophobic. And I think any of us that are in these worlds of creation and entertainment or information or whatever it may be, anything where you're in the public eye and you're constantly creating, there is this thought of striving for perfection. So what I tell people is, it's a lot easier probably, and we've all learned. But I tell people that are really stuck in that world of have to be perfect, and they're never perfect. So they have a piece that they edit and edit and edit and edit and edit, trying to make it perfect. And there's nothing left to the original because it's so overly edited, video or whatever it is, audio.
Yeah.
And I say, you know what? Here, try this. This might be a little bit easier for you. Get rid of the word perfectionist or perfectionism and swap it out with excellence.
Yes.
It's striving for excellence. Excellence is very good. It's best to best, but at the same time, it's liberating. You can breathe with it. You don't have this weight on your shoulder. You're striving for excellence because what's perfect? A rose and a newborn baby.
And then give that newborn baby time, and there's no more perfection, right? So, and a rose for that matter. Yeah, it's you have to be real, and it's not about making excuses. It's not about lowering the bar. It's about being real. Strive for excellence, and again, that looks different in various scenarios to different people. But always challenge yourself. Never be comfortable. I just said this to a young musician at the studio Saturday, and he took note. But I told him, I said, there's if you want growth, if you want that excellence, you'll never get it by being comfortable. Comfort does not breed excellence. It can't. You have to make yourself uncomfortable to grow. You have to challenge yourself to grow. If you're comfortable, growth is in another room somewhere, but it's waiting for you. You just have to go get it.
Exactly right. Yeah, you got to keep challenging yourself and take risks and keep moving forward and don't always, which a lot of people tend to do with the pressures of everything out there, social media and everything out there these days, and this 24/7 world we're in. Don't listen to the naysayers. There'll be enough people out there who tell you you're not good, you can't do it, don't bother, don't waste your time, you're not like so and so.
Right.
Throw all that out because it amounts to really zero. You have to be pleased with what you see reflecting in the mirror, right?
Right. As long as you're honest with yourself now. So don't folks, don't take it too far the other way where, for example, I know I cannot sing, but I convince myself, oh, I can sing. I don't care what those people say. Let's not be foolish now. Okay. So challenge yourself.
You wouldn't want to demonstrate that, would you?
I would I would not. No, I would not.
Well, we will believe him, everybody.
In fact, that same young musician I spoke to at the studio, I told him, I said, do yourself a favor. If you create a song, do not share it with anybody you know. Don't do that. Because in most cases, they like you, love you, and want to protect your feelings. No. If you want folks to hear it and really critique it, take it to some folks who don't know you. Don't even let them know it's yours. But what you need is honest critique if you're going to develop. Because we are some special beings. We can convince ourselves of virtually anything we want, though it's clear that's not what it is. So be honest with yourself and ask others to be honest with you. Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah, it really, really is. So with Resilient, and again, congratulations, more great music to add into everybody's fabulous library. Congratulations on it.
Thank you.
So now we know you don't drive 70, you drive 75.
When they put that up there, I'm like, wait a second, folks I don't know where a speed limit of 75 is. I heard it's up in Montana somewhere.
Maybe Texas or
I don't know.
Not even Texas.
No, not even Texas. I've driven in Texas.
Yeah, 70.
So sorry, folks. My bad.
You know, it was cool. I was on a TV shoot in Edmonton and we had the rental car and I was the driver. And of course, you know, everything is different on the dashboard with the speedometer. So we had to get a snap of this and share it with our, you know, family and friends and associates here in America while we're in Canada. Yes. And it was showing that we were going 120 miles an hour. It's like, well, look at this, folks, how cool. And you know what? The guy next to me just went 130.
Yes.
But it equated to something like 65 miles an hour here or 70 or something. But it looks so good on that dashboard.
It does.
You know?
It does.
Again, taking us back to thinking something that you're not.
Yeah.
All life's a circle. How did you, what was the inspiration for Resilient? And again, like you said, it plays off this one, which is Relentless.
Oh, wow. I didn't know you had that. Yeah.
Oh, I'm professional.
Yes, you are.
So this is the first one. You can get this. This is you can get this on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, everywhere.
Yeah. That's actually the third one, believe it or not.
That's the third one.
Yes, Resilient is my fourth studio album. So like, you know, like I've been at this a while because Relentless was actually about 10 years ago. Like I said, I made every mistake you could make. So it took a long time to convince myself to do this again. But
why was that? Was it that were you not happy with the other one, or you just needed to take a break from it, or?
No, I was happy with it. It got no traction for a number of reasons. someone in the industry, I'll leave their name out of it. They had told me early on in the process that, and they were supposed to be pseudo coaching me, maybe. Said, well, you're doing this, and this, but I haven't heard any of the music from the new album yet, and the album wasn't done. But I said, okay, I'll send you some. So I think I sent her snippets of like 3 songs, and then she calls me and she asks me what I thought was the oddest question. She said, "Are you making music that people like, or are you making music you like?" I said, well, I'm an artist, so I'm making music I like and hoping people like it. And she says, no, that's not how it's done. What you're supposed to do is listen to what's out there and da, 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 da. You don't copy it. Right. But I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I have to be honest to who I am. I don't have a style that sounds like anybody else. And that doesn't make me better. It's just I'm different. So my music is all about what I feel. If I feel it, whether it's mine or someone else's, if I feel it, I can play it. So Resilient for me was the next step in this journey, where I wanted to let folks know, hey, yeah, I've been beat up, counted out, pushed out, left out, but I'm still here, and I'm not here just because I'm stubborn, which I am. I'm still here because I honestly believe this is the mission God has given me. So if God commissions this, how can I give up? I really don't have a choice. And I don't believe in doing half-stepping with anything. I'm all in or I'm not in. So I just hope that people can hear it and hear the story in it and feel good about it and feel good about themselves and you feel hope and uplifted and fun and even if they can't dance, this record's gonna make you dance. So
yes, it is, absolutely. Yes, I got a chance to hear previews of it, and folks, I'm going to tell you how you can get it as well. For you, it really is what you call a statement piece of music and personal triumph. The up-tempo sounds, which are fantastic, dedicated to, like you're saying, that never give up spirit that is necessary to get more out of life than just accepting whatever comes your way. And Resilient has this incredible energy that will have even the most rhythmically challenged among us move to the beat, right?
Yes, sir.
If you're having a bad day, you're going to feel good too.
I believe you will. I really, I know it sounds self-serving, but I honestly believe that, especially about this particular song. The whole album I'm proud of, but this song is just, put it this way, not knocking them, but the one genre of radio that could play my music and does play some of my music is the smooth jazz genre. Unfortunately, most smooth jazz promoters would run from Resilient, the song. It's too aggressive for them. It's too funky for them. But this is what instrumental soul is. It's honest. It doesn't follow anybody's recipe. It just presents itself and allows the listener to do with it what they will.
Would you say it has nuances of pays heed to the 70s sound a little bit?
Yeah, and now, keep in mind
that's what I felt when I was hearing it.
Yeah, well, and that's due to 2 things. I can't take all credit for it. I can't. Yeah, I wrote the song, but I was blessed with wonderful production. My producer on this is a guy we call him Taz. His name is Cortez Fields. Taz Fields. He's a drummer and a producer. And when I presented the song to him, and you can even hear it's got some elements of gospel in it, with especially in the strings and chord arrangements. And Taz was like, yeah, but this sounds a little too churchy here. So let's do this. And we have a term we use. It's called Tazicize. When Taz takes an idea and puts his stamp on it, and part of it is the Southern soul, because he's a Memphis guy. So, Memphis, home of the blues, Southern soul. And he fuses that in with my Bronx, New York, R&B, jazz, classical, and hip hop. And it just,
what an incredible blend, huh?
It's an amazing blend.
It's a unique blend.
Yeah. Yeah. Because like I said, I'm not trying to be like anybody else. And strangely enough, I don't know why I didn't mention this earlier. Growing up, I was so intimidated. First of all, I was a real little scrawny guy. I mean, by the time I got to high school, I was 4'11" going to high school. So I was a real little guy. And I remember when I knew who Hubert Laws was, Dave Valentine, Herbert. I knew who all these guys were, but I wouldn't listen to them. Not out of arrogance, out of intimidation, because I convinced myself, and I'm still not, that I could never be as good as these guys. So
Miles Davis.
Yeah. No, I would listen to Miles because he didn't play the flute.
Yes. Quincy Jones.
Yeah. Love Quincy. Love Herbie Hancock. Love those guys.
Yeah.
But the flute masters, as I refer to them, I wouldn't listen to them because it always made me feel less than, and I would never get there. So growing up, unless it was classical or R&B funk, I didn't know what a flute was, quote unquote, supposed to sound like. So I inadvertently found my own voice and my own style, and I just stayed with it.
Any thought, since there is that gospel upbringing in there as well, to doing any, because I know a lot of artists do instrumental and vocal, any Christmas music album or anything with Christmas? I'm sure you've probably been asked a lot too.
I have. It's fun. Yeah, people have suggested that. I'm not hardline against it. Right now, it's more of a business decision. And here's what I mean. Making albums is not cheap. Just making Resilient. I'm not talking about promo. I'm not talking about manufacturing the CD, anything else. Just making the album. We are well north of $20,000. So the business decision is, if I make the Christmas album, do I even have a hope of recouping that? If I don't, then why would I throw the money out there? I'm not made of money. I'm a working stiff still. I'm trying to do music full time, but and then some of it feels so cliche because everybody does it. And though it would be a different flavor, yeah, right now, it's not a priority.
So stay tuned, everybody. You didn't close the door. Just it's got other things that have to be taken care of first, right?
Yes.
Yes. The daughters, any of them musically inclined? Any of them following dad's footsteps at all?
This is so odd. My oldest and my youngest are dancers. I'm not. My wife's not. We don't know how that happened. My middle daughter played flute in junior high school, and as soon as she could get away from it, she did. Our youngest, now remember, I can't sing. Now my wife, she's not a singer, but she can actually hold a tune. Our youngest daughter, oh my goodness, she doesn't have a forceful voice, but she can sing any part in a song she wants to. In fact, she'll sing along with a popular song and won't do what most people will do. She won't sing the melody. She'll sing the harmony, even if it's not there.
Wow. Yeah.
We don't know how that happened. And she's actually my number one musical barometer. When I'm making music, I'll usually call her in and, hey, listen to this. What do you think? Now,
sounds gifted.
She is.
Yeah.
That she's truly gifted. And she's told me a couple of times, Daddy, I don't think so. And if she's not feeling it, it's gone. Next.
Does she like the spotlight?
No. Oh, she's worse than me.
Yeah,
worse than me.
because that's part of the package too, a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. She just wants to sing just because she likes to sing,
because
but she
she
doesn't want to
enjoys
sing for
doing it,
anybody. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, that's that's the best way to do it. Like you said, you've stayed true to form by doing music that speaks to you, then resonates with everybody else, which is the authentic, real way. I mean, you're the one that's doing it, so you don't want to be doing it and not have it resonate with you. Of course, and even so with this, there are some covers here and there too, which
yes.
is always great, but you're able to take those covers and make them your own in your own unique way, which is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, it's funny how one of them, um, "Love the Way You Lie" by Eminem and Rihanna. I actually have the song on my iTunes. And one day, I think I was coming home from the gym, and I must have heard it on the radio. I don't know what happened that day, but for some reason, I think I was able to hear past Eminem and hear past Rihanna, and and it grabbed me. I said, you know what? Let me see if I can find the backing track for this. So I did. I went online and found the backing track, and I was so stunned how beautiful a piece of music that song is. Nothing against them, because like I said, it's on my iTunes. But when you take them off and you just hear the music, I was struck by it, and I realized, I said, you know what? I gotta play this. I loved it. It was beautiful. Now we added string arrangements. I added flute harmonies on part of the chorus to enhance the beauty of the flute. Um, but like I said, when a song, if I feel it, I can play it, and then I try to do it justice.
That's the key. Exactly. What has this is really hot off the presses, only month and a half old, but what's the response to Resilient been so far, Darryl?
I don't know. It sounds odd. Excuse me, because I within the last all right, so I got a social media marketing manager probably right after the album came out, and I just got a publicist a week, maybe 2 weeks ago. So my focus honestly has been really on promo. I don't know what those numbers look like yet, um, but what we're focused on doing is getting the word out, because what does it matter?
Ooh, that's the
Everybody
key
knows the
these
old adage
days. More
about
than ever, you got to get it out. Yeah.
you gotta get it out. And keep in mind, I said that my music would be on smooth jazz radio. Well, smooth jazz radio is not what it was 20 years ago. They don't
No,
have all these terrestrial stations, and nothing will be what pop music
back when it
is.
was CD 101.9, New York, from the
Exactly.
top of the World Trade Center,
Yes, exactly.
WQCD.
Right. So so you've got to do all this promo, because otherwise you are the proverbial tree that fell in the forest and there was no one around to hear it. So who cares how good it is if no one knows what it is? So that's really been the focus.
How do
And
you feel about that? Some of the artists that have come through, because we have guests from all kinds of different backgrounds of life, but when it's musical, some of them talk about how the music industry has changed so much, the way music's distributed, the way people are hearing it, the way they're
yeah,
consuming it,
yeah,
the way that there's, so many people making music now, and everybody, it's all online and it's all out there. And there's advantages, there's disadvantages, and it's easier, but it's harder. And then Spotify, how much do you really make on Spotify? You got to sell 1 billion of them. One guy said, I did 100,000, I was able to buy a coffee or something.
yeah.
100,000
That's it.
streams or something, I was able to get a cup of coffee, not with cream and sugar. It had to be black with that
Right.
money. But for you, how do you feel about all of that? The changes in all of the way it's done and the way it's presented and consumed and the way people even hear about it.
Any time there's an advancement in anything, there's always going to be a negative side and someone taking advantage. Unfortunately, that's just the reality. So it used to be, if you sell X amount of records in X amount of period of time, and you get so many spins on radio stations, it would propel you in the charts, and then the booking people will come and all that. Well, with technology and specifically streaming, it has cut off a lot of artists at the knees, to be honest, which is why, and I'm not endorsing or detracting from any service, but
It's done the same to television and radio too.
It's really devalued it.
Yeah.
So if I like a song, I buy the song. I will not stream the song. I don't own the song. I mean, own it for distribute, but I like it enough. I believe in it. I'll buy it. Because when you stream it, the artist / copyright holder only gets percentages of a penny every time it's streamed. But it's unfortunately the way the business is. As an artist, you have to allow it to be streamed, because these booking agents, they don't just look at your radio spins or your sales. They look at your streams too, because this is a stream happy era. Everybody's streaming. And then technology, though there've been advancements, unfortunately, because of technology, you have people who are not actual musicians. Again, they make sounds, but they can manipulate the sounds in such a way that it convinces the ear it is music, and there's a market for that. And let's be honest, those who want to make money are going to go where they can make the most money. So it used to be you had to at least have actual talent and develop that talent. That's not the case anymore. I mean, if my recording software is so advanced, I haven't tried this, but I believe if I were to play something on my flute and record it, my program has the ability to make what's called a MIDI copy of it, where I can assign another instrument's voice to it. So if I played in the right octave, and I don't think it really has to be in the right octave, I can play essentially a bass line on my flute, and my software will make it sound like a bass guitar. Now, I will still need a bass guitarist to come play it, because there will be certain things that I simply can't do with my flute. You can't hear, the rumble of the strings or the finger on the fret and all that. So, but technology, great. And then there's the dark side too. Do you enjoy writing?
Things are shorter too. They want things more condensed,
because
shorter.
people have no attention span. That's why.
Right. No attention span. Things recorded louder now. Some of the things are louder, and a lot of stuff sounds the same too. It's just sometimes you can't even differentiate who is who, especially on the vocal side of things, because when you heard a Ella Fitzgerald,
yes,
a Shirley Bassey, a Lena Horne, a Barbara Streisand, any of these people, you knew who it was, because of the sound of the uniqueness of the sound of that particular artist's voice. Right. One of our dear family friends, we lost only about 2 years ago, was Ronnie Spector from the Ronettes. That sound of her voice, so distinct, so unique, cannot be mimicked. It was stood out. A lot of things almost sound, cookie cutter in a way, and it's all very, very similar right. Beat, similar sound, length. Remember, whatever happened to the 12-inch extended long play versions of songs, the mixed versions? I used to love when those would come out. We would run to Record World and Tower Records and grab those.
It's one of the reasons why I don't want to forget her name. Remember Linda Ronstadt? Who did Linda Ronstadt sound like? Nobody. And nobody sounded like Linda Ronstadt.
Right.
But I was thinking about, who is the guy? He's from South Africa. He's got a band. Gosh, can't think of it. I just thought about him the other day. Oh, no, not Hootie. It's not Hootie. Anyway, whoever this group was or is, he and his band had a hard time getting signed for a while, because I think the average length of their songs were about 9 minutes. Oh, radio wasn't going to play that, but they were excellent. So they had to convince them, okay, make a couple of songs that are radio friendly. And they did that, and they eventually got signed. Now the group I mentioned earlier, Snarky Puppy, to my recollection, I think they made one song that was 4 minutes. Everything else is like 7 to 12 minutes long. You'll never hear them on the radio. But there is nobody, and I mean nobody, that sounds like Snarky Puppy.
No.
I'm sorry.
Have we lost melody? Has melody been evaporating from our music? So I know I've heard some people say that.
I'm going to try to be diplomatic and definitely not name names. Without sounding like an old fuddy-duddy, yeah. Everything's becoming so monotone. And which is ironic to me, because when you have these digital studios that can fix anything, even if your voice isn't that true, well, the computer will fix it. So why be afraid of flowing through the melody? But that apparently they've convinced people that's what they want. I was going to say that's what people want. No, people don't know what they want until you serve them something. But yeah, melodies. Shaka Khan. The reason why she's my favorite female vocalist is because she has the ability to do it. Barbra Streisand did it. Patty Austin did it, or does it. Singing a song has the ability in the same verse to give me a caress or give me power, and they can shift those gears. They know how to navigate that. Most vocalists don't know that art, and if they know it, they're not demonstrating it. So music sounds more and more monotonous and mundane and just boring.
Shirley Bassey could do that as well. She had that ability to just really, grab you or make you think, laugh, cry, whatever.
Yeah.
A very powerful voice of Shirley Bassey. So many great songs and so many great singers. But going back to the instrumental mindset, there is something about it because, I've played a lot of instrumental music, and people will say to me, because they're hearing the same 20 songs played on the radio over and over and over.
Yeah.
And even during Christmas time, you'll hear the same Christmas songs over and over. And a lot of times, you probably are aware of this, they have even removed, to a great degree, Christmas music that has had any faith tones, underpinnings to it. So you're not hearing "O Come All Ye Faithful" or "Silent Night" or those as often as you're hearing now "Jingle Bell Rock."
Yes.
"Deck the Halls."
Yes.
The ones that are, there's no tone of faith base to it. And those, "Oh Come On Emmanuel," some of those songs are some of the most beautiful songs ever written, and they're being removed from circulation.
Yeah, I trust me, I have noticed that. Excuse me. I even I played for a Christmas party, and I deliberately called it that. That's what it is. It's a Christmas party. And it was actually at a senior center, and I was playing to tracks. And I still remember when I played Hallelujah. My goodness, you could literally feel it move through the room. And remember, there are no words, but they know the words to this song, and it is a song about faith. But this is what happens when we walk away, gradually even back away from the original intent of things. As I told someone recently, humanity, we like to call ourselves creators, but we're not. We're inventors. God is the only creator. But and the difference is, and this is not semantics, to create something, first of all, you have to start from nothing. Secondly, there's no trial and error. I've never recorded or written a song and there wasn't something that needed to be addressed. There's always something to be addressed. But yeah, even with Christmas music, now it's not so much on the instrumental side because obviously there are no words. But there's definitely seems to me to be a concerted effort to get further and further away from anything about faith and make it,
and that's what Christmas is.
that it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be.
That's how it started.
Well,
so is Resilient playing on the radio now?
Resilient just started radio last Monday. Yes.
Terrific.
I'm sorry. This Monday. I almost forgot when it was.
Will it be on? Will it get into things like watercolors on Sirius XM and those where you hear everywhere in every car, every store?
Sirius XM does not, and this is not a knock on them. They do not follow the beat of any radio promoter anywhere. They do what they want to do. They decide, because radio promoters they're paid. They're paid by the record label or by the independent artist to shop their music to radio stations. So Sirius XM, if someone sends them something, if they like it, they'll play it. If they don't, they won't, and they won't tell you why. They do what they want to do because they know, listen, we're not beholden to anyone. They have subscribers. We know that. But they're not in the loop. They're not in the circuit where they're not nothing against them, but they're not iHeart. They're not Cumulus. They're their own entity, and they've got global reach. So if I could get, oh my God, if I could get on there, everybody will know about Resilient. But we'll see.
Okay, Jim Master Show lovities, you know what to do. Contact Sirius XM in the morning. Watercolors, get them on the Watercolors channel.
Yeah, that would be.
So I can hear it in my car.
It's funny you mention that because I've often had the dream of being of that scene in the movie Selena when they're going down the road in the car and all of a sudden she hears her record on the radio. Yes. And now I've heard my music on radio stations here and there, but let's be honest, what compares to Sirius XM? So,
it was funny. I was seeing something, I think it was the Tamron Hall show, and Julio Iglesias Jr. was being interviewed. And of course, there's Julio Jr. and there's Enrique. And then, of course, there's Julio. And Julio Jr. was talking about how he really loves and pays homage to his father's music, his father's style, his father's sound. So Tamron had asked him something to the effect, sort of paraphrasing, when you are with your partner, the two of you, what do you put on? Do you put on your father's music? And Julio Jr. said, yes, I do.
Why wouldn't he?
How could I not put on, to all the girls I loved before and everything else? I mean,
it's funny. You just side note, when you mentioned the Iglesias family, it made me think of another Latin artist who my wife and I both love, and we think is completely underrated. And that's Mark Anthony. Incredible voice, very talented. But there's a guy, when's the last time you heard about him? So off my soapbox.
Very true. Very true.
I wanted to answer a question from Miss Marilyn. She asked, do I enjoy writing? Yeah, when it goes well. No, I no, I do. But here's the biggest part for me. The greatest joy of it is actually the collaborative side of it. When I get with the producer and we get these other musicians in, and never is a song, once you hear it, exactly the way I wrote it. And believe it or not, most times I have no idea what the melody is going to be until I get a rough draft from my producer, and then I lay my flute to it. But almost never do I write a song flute first. I know it sounds odd as a flutist, but I told you I was different.
Unique, right? So, touring, performing, stage performances, any of that coming up in the offing?
There are no performances booked. Well, let me not say that. There's a lot of private stuff booked right now. And the team, yes, I thank God I have a team. We're working on a lot of avenues to get performance bookings,
to get things going. Because I heard when you have them, you have a good time.
Oh wow, yeah. I meant to mention that. Do you know where that is?
Where is that?
That is the it's Detroit. It's the motor. I had the name of it all till just now.
Look at that audience.
That was last fall when I opened for. That was my third time now. That's when I opened for Boney James. My first time ever in Detroit. And you talk about nervous. Oh my God, I was so scared. Because number one, this is Boney James's audience. So they have a standard and an expectation.
Oh, yes.
They didn't know there was an opening act, not to my knowledge. And to make matters worse, I had to be the opening act in the worst possible way with a track. Yeah. So I'm like, I don't know how this is going to go, but I'm here, so let's do it. So I was strategic. I opened with what wound up being on the album, Love the Way You Lie. Why? Because Eminem, and it's Detroit. Now it's a different age demographic, but it made sense to me. Let's go Detroit.
The hometown, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I hate spotlights. I hate them, especially direct spots, because my paranoia sets in. The room is dark. The spot's in my face. I don't know what the audience is thinking or feeling. And I don't know how many of you have gotten up and walked out. So here I am working the stage, and then I could peek and see that, hey, they're digging this. I think I'm going to be okay. So there was some point I just wanted to have a little fun. And I said to the audience, I said, now, if you all don't mind, I really want to take a selfie with you all. And to make it even more fun, I told them, I said, now, if you have any warrants, I'll count to 3. You can walk out, and it will. So that's what we did there. Soundboard Theater. That's the name of it. The Soundboard Theater at the.
Soundboard. Yeah.
And I love, man, the crew
That's
there.
A packed crowd. Look at that.
It was a full house, and they were so.
And Boney James is great, isn't he? I have all of his stuff too.
I'm not sure what's better about Boney, if it's his music or if it's personality. I really don't know, because I'm just so intertwined. But oftentimes you'll get people, great musicians, and you really wouldn't want to interact with them. Boney's not that guy.
I haven't had the pleasure of meeting him yet, but I've heard incredible things.
Yeah.
Somebody else, a couple of others, Dave Grusin, I had the opportunity to meet. Dave Kaz, I've met as well. They've all been really, really nice. Peter White, was terrific on guitar. One of my friends is Jay Rowe. He's great as well. Adam Hawley, who's really, he's up and coming, huh?
We did a song.
He was a guest on our show.
Yeah.
And you guys.
We did a song On the Run on the album. Was produced by Adam, co-written.
He's amazing, Adam, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, that was a lot of fun making that song. It was also a learning experience, because I had never worked with an established, nothing against any of my other guys, but I'd never worked with an established producer before. So I learned his way of making music. And I just, I put it in my data bank, and I learned from it. So I'm not saying I'll duplicate that moving forward, but you'd be foolish not to learn from it.
Exactly right. And that's all part of, being relentless and resilient.
Yes. Yes.
Here it is. Once again, folks, you can get it everywhere: iTunes, Spotify, Amazon. And of course, you can check out his terrific website, which I encourage you to go to, dejmusic.com. Darryl Evan Jones. There he is. It's a great website, a lot of great material, more background about him and his life and projects and videos and samples and all kinds of cool stuff on there as well. And there it is again in writing. We've been showing that during the show. This was really a pleasure, my friend, an absolutely terrific conversation. And again, I encourage and endorse, support everybody. Go get the music, add it to your collection. It's really feel good stuff. And it's, if you're having a bad day, it's going to make you feel good. If you want something to chill and just kick back and get away from all the noise out there, the chaos, the yelling and screaming, the road rage, and all this pushing and shoving in the supermarkets, fighting over bananas, put this on.
Fighting over bananas. Wow.
Right?
But I am not responsible if anybody gets a speeding ticket listening to this record. I'm not. So.
No, that's right. The max you could go is 75. That's it. If you go 76, he's not responsible.
I'm not responsible.
You heard the spirit of 76. He's the spirit of 75.
Yes, which unofficially, don't tell them I said this, by experience, you can actually get away with 75 on the New Jersey Turnpike. Don't go 76. They're coming out. I'm just letting you know.
If you try to pump the gas yourself, you will be locked up.
There's that too.
Serve.
Yeah, there is that too.
Full serve. Again, there's his website, folks. We are talking to the flute man, the ambassador of instrumental soul, Darryl Evan Jones. The title, the flute man, that came from the fans, the friends.
Well, there was a promoter in Philly. He would do these, for lack of a better term, variety shows. There would be musicians, singers, poets, whatever. Excuse me. And there was one night, it was my turn to go. I think you would do 2 different times in the night or whatever. And apparently, he won't admit to it, but he forgot my name. So he just, when it came time to announce me, he just said, the flute man. And people kind of liked it. I'm like, okay, I'll go with that. But as my career progressed, it seemed a little cartoonish. And as one of my dear friends, he's like a brother to me. He said, Darryl, really, that doesn't fit you. You're more elegant than that. You're whatever, however he phrased it. So I couldn't use Darryl Jones because there's a famous Darryl Jones, the bass player. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, hey, why not use my full name? And when I did it, and I told that particular friend about it, Mike said, yeah, now that sounds regal. Darryl Evan Jones. Most people don't use 3 names. And it stuck. And then a few years later, I came up with the term of instrumental soul. And I'm like, okay, let's see. I'm trying to represent. I got it. Mm-hmm. I'm an ambassador. That's what I am. Ambassador of instrumental soul.
That's right. You sure are, my friend. And the folks can go to Facebook and go to his official page, Darryl Evan Jones Music, and then on Instagram and X, Darryl Evan Jones, for both Instagram and X. And again, Facebook is Darryl Evan Jones. Make sure you add the word music. And again, the website is dejmusic.com. This was awesome, my friend. Come back and see us. We always say we keep the porch light on for all of our guests. Spread the word about the Jim Masters Show Live series. People say we're bringing back the Lost Art of Conversation. I don't call these interviews. I call these good, free-flowing, unscripted, no pre-prepared questions, good conversations, good flow back and forth with the audience watching. And this will be archived on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, so everybody can share the link on their social media if folks missed it live. And we'll keep the porch light on for you, my friend. Congratulations on the new music. And we've already, it's going to be added to our collection ASAP. And very happy that these good things are happening due to your relentlessness and your resiliency.
Yes, sir.
It's
Thank
so important. Come
Yes,
by and see us again. And I truly hope you enjoyed the time with me as
I
much as I have.
absolutely did. I gotta tell you, sir, you are really something special. I've done so many interviews with so many people, but I, like you, this felt more like a conversation, and more importantly, though we just met today, it felt like a conversation with a friend. So thank you for being a friend.
I appreciate that. Thank you for being a friend. Let me see the Golden Girls. Where's B. Arthur when you need her?
Right.
Well, I'll throw this into the mix before we go. My father, you'll appreciate this. This audience has heard it before, who are the regulars, but might be new to folks. My father told me when I was 7 years old, I'm like the fifth James. So he always has used Jim. I'm Jimmy. When I was a kid, he said, Jimmy, I'm 7 years old, telling me this. Jimmy, always remember whenever somebody says something kind or nice to you, always make sure that you thank them for those kind words. Always
Yes.
make sure you thank them.
Yes.
Then ask them to please put those words in writing and address it management. How perfect, huh?
Yes. Yes. Words of wisdom.
That's it. That's 7 years, 8 years. Well, 8 years you were playing with the recorder, right?
Yeah.
We had out on Long Island, we had, it was like sixth grade, and my music teacher was Mrs. Sebastian. She was terrific. And
Mhm.
she gave us what were called flutophones. They
Yes.
were these white plastic, and it got us interested in flute early on by playing what was
Right.
called you remember the
I
flutophone?
do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, they were these white plastic things. Those were cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
From flutophone to the ambassador of instrumental soul.
Wow. You're taking me back, because now you're making me think of one of my most influential music teachers. So he's long gone, but shout out to Mr. Al Altieri. Just an incredible, incredible man. And I'll
You
never
know,
forget him.
that's all it takes is a teacher to inspire, right? Early
Yes.
on, because we're sponges when we're kids. And you get
Yes.
those couple of teachers that I have a few teachers that were some of my favorites that you just connected with them. There's a certain warmth and vibe, and they had an interest and a passion. They
Absolutely.
weren't very rote. They were just warm,
Yeah.
and you gravitate to it. And all the Gym Master Show lovities are commenting and saying, thanks for being here. We loved it. And come see us again. So they're with you as well. And they're going to go out and get the music. They're fantastic with that. Crystal is in Connecticut, and she says, thank you for the amazing conversation, Jim and Darryl. I wish you continued success in your music, Darryl. God bless you. And Crystal, I think it's your 19th wedding anniversary.
Oh,
Crystal, I met Crystal when I was emceeing a concert event for the group Chicago, and it was on behalf of PBS. And I met
wow.
Crystal and her husband, and she's a sweetheart of a person. And Maureen in Arizona. Darryl, thank you for being in Levity Hall. We call this the Gym Master Show Levity Hall because in the beginning of the series I said the show has a lot of light, love, and levity. And one time I said it too fast, and I said it has light and levity, combining love and levity. And they jumped on it. They said, "You're Mr. Levity. This is Levity Hall. We're your Levity
Yeah.
squad." And the guests are part of the Levity family. So she says, thanks for being in Levity Hall this evening. You are truly an amazing human. May your star continue to rise in every aspect of your life. Kathleen in New York City, who is really excited because now you grew up in the Bronx, so this might be a little bit different, but she does work with the New York Mets, and she's very happy right now that the Mets are because
I went to high school in Queens, though, but I went to high
did.
school in Queens. Yeah, Aviation High School.
So you like both, or?
I'm from the Bronx, so it's Yankees. Sorry.
Well, I know, it's funny because for me, if the Mets aren't in it, I go with the Yankees because then it becomes about hometown pride.
Exactly.
the
Yes.
town, New York, the area, the tri-state area. So, and then they're both in it right now as of tonight. So I don't want to jinx anything.
I want a
But
Subway series. That's what I want. I want a
oh,
Subway
could you
series.
imagine?
Yeah.
Wow, that would be fantastic. Um, Come see us again, my friend. We'll keep that light on for you. Thanks for all the time. You were very generous. We chatted
No,
for an
no.
hour 45, huh?
Thank you, and thanks to all the wonderful people here. It's tremendous, really. Thank you. I'm grateful. God bless you all.
Spread the word. We shall do the same because it takes a village. And we'll see you again soon. And congratulations and blessings on all, my friend.
Thank you so much.
You be well.
You too now.
Take care now.
Bye.
Darryl Evan Jones joining us here on the Jim Masters Show live entertainment lifestyle celebrity talk show series. How cool was that, gang, huh? He might be an artist that you're learning about for the very first time, or maybe you have all of his music. But wow, what a great conversation, as we say, we call these conversations. Don't forget, you can go to his website to get it all. DEJ, here it is. Let's slap it up right there. DEJmusic.com. Cool stuff, right? And yeah, if you want to hear the music, go to Spotify, go to iTunes, Apple Music, go to Amazon, go to his website, and you can get it all there. And, we have conversations where you get a chance not only to hear about the current project they're working on, but you get a chance to learn about the person themselves, right? Get a chance to learn about the person behind the scenes who makes the music or makes the art, who does whatever it is we're celebrating here on the Jim Masters Show Live series. And that's the cool thing about what we do here on the show is we go a little deeper, a little bit beyond just the norm of typical, hey, just tell us about the CD and the digital download, and that's it. Now you have a real appreciation for what he does, why he does it, how he got started, the things that have influenced him, what he thinks about music, what goes into the creation of the music. And then when you hear his music, it'll give you a deeper, richer experience. And he even said, he loves the flute as much as he does, but the cello also speaks to him, which is something really, really cool as well. So here again is that current album. So make sure you get it, Resilient. And again, great stories behind this. And also the one previous, Relentless, and all of his music. He's been doing this for quite some time. He's old hat at it. So check it out, folks. I am your host, Jim Masters. Come see us again. More great episodes, more incredible celebrity friends and guests stopping by our entertainment lifestyle celebrity talk show series. If you enjoyed this episode, little homework here to help us continue to grow. We've got, almost 1,200 episodes we've done in 4.5 years and counting, which is amazing. Don't forget to like this episode. There's a little thumbs up like icon. Share it on your social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. And don't forget to leave a comment underneath the episode. Yeah, comment right underneath, right under there. Interact with us. Let us know what kind of music you enjoy. What did you learn about our conversation? Are you a new fan of Darryl's, a longtime fan of Darryl's? What do you love about our show? Interact with us. We would absolutely love that, gang. All right. And thank you again, Kathleen, for saying a great show. Thanks, Jim. Have a great night. Let's go Mets. Absolutely. We'll see what happens. And Maureen chimes in and says, this was a wonderful conversation. Thanks, Jim. Definitely keep that porch light on for Darryl. It is on for Darryl. Yes. The next time the needle drops, he will be here with us and with you. Come see us again. Don't forget, we always say here on the show, love one another, take care of one another, and don't forget to love yourself. Very important to do that. Thanks for watching and supporting, sharing, liking, commenting as you do. It all means a world to us. And if it's your first time watching the Jim Masters Show, welcome to the Jim Masters Show Lovely family. It's cool to have you here. We'll see you on the next one, okay? Thanks for being with us and stopping by the Jim Masters Show live series. It's always great when you're here for the party. We'll see you on the next one. Be well and cheers.